Why did the tiger cross the road? Because he was striped bad. That's so bad. Oh, wait, I got one. What do you call a tiger with a surfboard? Surfing safari? No, striped cruiser. Haha, nice. Absolutely ridiculous. Why did the tiger cross the road? Because he was striped bad. That's so bad. Oh, wait, I got one. Why did the tiger cross the road? Because he was striped bad. That's so bad. Oh, wait, I got
Intelligence indicates that there's probably a battalion, unit of battalion strength in the area. And Echo Company, link up on the high ground. Foxtrot and hotel companies will continue with suicide. The area will have your contact with my desk to clear out any possible issues that are in there. Making entries into the area here, and at our level, from our standpoint, I can only tell you one thing for sure, and that is that there are a lot of people out there who are not friendly to us.
Play War Thunder now. Join millions of players across the globe in massive battles on tanks, aircraft, and helicopters in the most extensive vehicle combat game.
The ocean is full of monsters. Some we know, like massive great white sharks and giant squid, and others that live on in the stories of Satan.
The Death Scythe once reaped souls for the Grim Reaper.
The story begins in a traditional Japanese house surrounded by pristine waters and lush greenery. Inside the house, a young boy called Minato follows his grandfather while holding a pot in his hands. After they enter a certain room, the boy's grandfather helps him place the pot on top of a high shelf. Then, the old man gives Minato some snacks to put on the shelf as well. As the little boy places the packets on the shelf, a little girl in a nearby room turns around as if she sensed their smell. Soon, she rushes into the room, catching Minato's attention. While he's distracted, the girl sneakily nabs the snacks off the shelf before running away from him. Minato quickly turns around and catches her in the act, but the little girl flashes an adorable smile at him before disappearing into thin air. Thinking she was a ghost, Minato gets terrified, but his grandfather reassures him that the girl he saw is very real. Minato's grandpa explains that he can see things that most people normally can't, so he was able to see the young girl, who is a peaceful spirit that has lived in their house for a long time. Several years later, after Minato has grown up, he moves from his granddad's house to an abandoned house once owned by his distant relative. As Minato walks towards his new house, a young man called Harama feels surprised to see someone new move into their neighborhood. Meanwhile, Minato reaches his new house, shocked by its incredible size. A dark aura wafts out of the house's depths, which makes him feel unsettled. However, Minato shakes off the feeling and tries to open the gate with his key. As soon as the key makes contact with the lock, a mysterious power appears and drives off the dark mist. Surprised, Minato checks the note and key in his hand and sees that the notes he wrote have somehow disappeared from the paper. Then, a strong wind picks up out of nowhere and blows the note away from his hands. After flying through the air, the note lands on top of a secluded shrine, before the rest of the writing fades completely from its surface. Deep inside the shrine, a pair of intimidating eyes opens itself to the world. Back in the house, Minato sets down all his luggage and makes notes of all the cleanup chores he needs to do. While speaking to his mother on the phone, he wonders why nobody bought the big house despite its location and size. His mom explains that several interested buyers have visited the house, but after getting there, they all left without an explanation. Minato nods but forgets about this confusing detail as he completes cleaning up the entire place. Then, he starts walking towards the garden, but he notices some flowers lying on the floor. Minato gets confused since he doesn't recall bringing any flowers, but he notices a strange creature spying on him from the garden's bushes. Sometime later, the gardener arrives, and after a few hours, he finishes cleaning up the entire garden, so he begins discussing where to plant some new trees in Minato's garden. Minato thinks he shouldn't plant anything new since he's only temporarily staying in someone else's house, so the gardener agrees. Suddenly, a dark aura gathers around the gardener's shoulder, causing him incredible pain. As Minato notices the man's discomfort, a wind blows through the house, which causes one of his notes to fly into the gardener's shoulder. As soon as the note makes contact with the man, he stops feeling the pain. While the man celebrates his sudden recovery, Minato realizes that his note has once again lost all its writing. Then, he sees a bunch of herbs lying on the floor nearby and wonders if the gardener brought them over. The gardener reveals that he didn't bring any extra plants with him, leaving Minato extremely confused. The next day, Minato wakes up and heads outside to get some fresh air from the garden. But then he sees a clump of raspberries presented to him right outside the door. This time, he spots a strange creature leaving the area, which reminds him of the little girl from his grandfather's house. Minato finally realizes that a special creature has been bringing him these gifts just like that girl, so he decides to head to the market to buy some offerings. Once he returns, he takes out some sweets and drinks to present them as a sign of thanks. After Minato takes out all the gifts, a mysterious fox arrives at his garden, tracking down the delicious scents. Then, the fox reveals its true form to Minato and apologizes for intruding on his property.
You don't deserve to settle, so play a game that won't either. We've made major changes to agents, weapons, and maps. We've turned down the volume on abilities slightly so that sweet gunplay gets a bigger slice of the spotlight. And we've shaved off some hard edges on a couple of frustrating map locations.
Shocked, Minato wonders why the white dog is talking to him. The fox explains he's not a dog. His name is Yamagami, and he is the god of the local mountain. Yamagami wonders why Minato is so calm after seeing him. Minato explains that he's simply feeling bad for him, since he was kind enough to bring so many gifts for him. Then, he offers up the sweets and drinks to Yamagami, who digs in without hesitation. While Yamagami enjoys the sweets, Minato offers him some alcohol as well. However, Yamagami asks him for normal water since his powers are too weakened to withstand the alcohol. Minato agrees and gives him some store-bought water, which Yamagami enjoys as much as his natural spring water. Then, Yamagami thanks Minato for saving him, revealing that his powers dispelled some evil spirits that were draining away his power. Minato feels confused since he doesn't recall fighting any spirits, but Yamagami explains that the writing on his notes contains a special power that can dispel evil spirits. Finally, Minato realizes why his writing always disappeared after all those supernatural events. Suddenly, the gardener returns to his house to get some tools he forgot in the garden. Minato feels embarrassed by the strange Yamagami sitting around, but Yamagami explains that normal people cannot see spirits like him. As expected, the gardener leaves without noticing anything strange, so Minato returns to pouring more water for the fox. This time, he gives Yamagami a bottle of sparkling water, which gives him a big surprise. Still, Yamagami ends up enjoying the fizzy bubbles in his mouth. While he continues to drink, Minato wonders why his words hold the power to drive evil spirits away. Even Yamagami doesn't know the exact cause, so he asks Minato if people have always complimented his calligraphy skills. Minato nods, explaining that his family used to run an inn. Back then, a customer noticed Minato's calligraphy on the inn's nameplate and told him never to take it down, even suggesting that he make one for his own house. After that, the customer paid the young boy to create a similar piece just for him. Ever since then, Minato has started making nameplates as a hobby. He proudly shows a couple of his pieces to Yamagami, who tells him to hang them up around the house. Once Minato hangs up all of the nameplates around the mansion, they light up and create a square barrier around the area. Minato is shocked that his writing could hold so much power, but Yamagami tells him that he can become even stronger if he trains it. A few days later, Yamagami returns to Minato's house to gorge himself on some more sweets. After eating them, he shows off his recovered power to Minato. Unfortunately, Yamagami's brilliance is too much for him to bear, so he tones it down. Meanwhile, in an abandoned facility, two evil spirits lunge towards Haruma, who rapidly chants some strange words right as the spirits are about to reach him. Haruma finishes his chant, creating a blue barrier that blocks them out. Instead of attacking again, the spirits give up on Haruma and escape outside the building. Despite the dangers of fighting such evil spirits, Haruma runs out since there's a chance the spirits could attack an innocent person in the nearby market. As he chases after the spirits, Haruma notices Minato walking right around the corner of an alley. Haruma has no time to warn him, so the spirit crashes head-on into Minato. To his shock, the spirit is the one that gets completely pulverized. After that, an orb drops to the ground. No one notices the ball, and instead, Minato feels upset that his shopping list has disappeared once again. Minato starts complaining about his list to Haruma, who wonders if he wanted to buy trash bags or something. Thankfully, Minato was indeed looking for trash bags, so his trip to the market is saved. He thanks Haruma and rushes off to buy the trash bags, while the strange orb silently slips away into the streets. Meanwhile, back at Minato's mansion, Yamagami takes a look around the deserted garden, and he uses his powers to restore it. Afterward, Minato goes out to check out the garden, where he finds its waters restored and the greenery completely fresh. Minato thanks Yamagami for his help, but then he realizes that the poor fox shrank down after using so much power. A few days later, Minato returns home, expecting to see Yamagami in his garden. However, he's shocked as Yamagami appears in an even tinier form than before, along with 3 other animals accompanying him. The small Yamagami explains that these martens are his 3 familiars called Seri, Utsugi, and Torika. Minato offers some sweets to the minions, who start gulping them down. Watching them devour the sweets, Minato tells the small animals to have as much as they want. After some time, they finish eating the sweets, and Yamagami returns to his normal size from the fulfilling meal he just had. Then, he notices Harima standing outside the mansion, so he tells Minato to get the door. Outside, Harima trembles as he feels an incredible presence within Minato's house. When the door opens, he immediately asks Minato if he can come inside for a chat. Inside, Harima explains that he's a professional exorcist belonging to a government agency. Then, he asks Minato if he used his incredible power to vaporize the evil spirit from the market. Minato recalls the incident, so Harima explains that he has lately been dealing with a lot more evil spirits than usual. For the sake of his job, he asks Minato to make him a talisman with his power. While Minato feels confused, Yamagami tells him to just write down another shopping list for him. Minato asks Harima if he really wants a shopping list, which leaves him completely stunned. Harima wonders if Minato's shopping item contains some insane illegal goods, but when he starts listing out everyday items like tea and toilet paper, Harima spits his tea out in outrage. Once Minato finishes writing the list, Harima notes that it contains a mysterious power. Meanwhile, Minato feels tired for some reason, so Yamagami reminds him that he just used a lot of power. Finally, Harima forks out a huge wad of cash to pay for Minato's precious shopping list. At first, Minato refuses the cash, reminding Harima that he just wrote down some simple words. However, Harima refuses to pay him any less than his worth, so Minato reluctantly accepts his payment. Still, he offers one last gift to him as thanks for the generous payment. Minato draws a pentagon symbol on Harima's hand, explaining that it's something related to an exorcist's line of work. Just then, Harima gets an urgent call to deal with a case, so he quickly rushes out of the house. Once he reaches the target side, he finds his colleagues cornered by a huge evil spirit they've never seen before. Harima charges straight towards the spirit, but the spirit turns around and it's about to devour Harima. However, to his shock, the pentagon on his hand completely obliterates the spirit, showing the depths of Minato's true power. A few days later, as Yamagami's visits become a normal part of Minato's life, the poor man calculates his expenses from all the gifts. After calculating the costs, Minato realizes that a jobless teenager like him cannot cover for the other jobless slobs shamelessly gorging themselves on world-class delicacies in this garden. Even though Minato tried feeding them some budget stuff, Yamagami's snobby little familiars would get clearly upset, so he had no choice but to give them the premium stuff. Still, it meant that Minato would soon run out of money to pay his bills. As Minato worries about his future, Yamagami notices a small rock quietly appearing in Minato's garden. Later, Minato heads out to the streets for a dreaded job hunt. He tries applying for a part-time job, but then remembers that it won't be enough to feed the Martin's familiars bottomless pits. Then, he notes a raffle nearby, so he decides to try his luck out. Somehow, Minato wins the grand prize of 100,000 yen, which gives him at least 3 days worth of money. Happy to procrastinate getting a job, he decides to buy some drinks to celebrate with Yamagami. However, when Minato enters the store, he unexpectedly becomes their 333rd customer. For some reason, the store owners celebrate this odd number, so as a reward, they gift Minato with a set of their best drinks. Minato wonders if his back-to-back lucky streaks are just a fluke, but when he basically ends up winning every single jackpot in the world afterward, he becomes convinced that something strange happened to his luck. Afterward, he returns home as a millionaire and asks Yamagami if he used his powers to rig the lottery. Yamagami shakes his head and points to a strange turtle in Minato's pond as the culprit. He explains that this rocky turtle is called Reiki, and it is one of the 4 sacred beasts that supposedly grant good luck. Apparently, Minato had helped Reiki sometime, so the little turtle decided to repay his favor. Although Minato doesn't recall preserving any endangered turtles, Yamagami reveals that he indirectly helped Reiki escape an evil spirit when he destroyed it near the marketplace. Despite this explanation, Minato feels skeptical about the turtle's powers. Suddenly, he gets a phone call from his mom, who informs him that he has won a 1 million yen lottery he had entered in the past. Finally, Minato accepts Reiki as the real deal and thanks it for its help. Yamagami notes that Reiki wants to live in the pond, so Minato wonders if he should allow it to stay or not. Yamagami then reminds him that he's literally the owner, so the decision is up to him, since the small turtle could help him live the rest of his life without working a finger. Minato easily accepts it into his garden. Then, he offers Reiki some of the drinks as thanks for his earlier help. Hearing about a free drink, the slow turtle instant transmissions straight in front of a bowl to get its reward. Minato smiles and tells Reiki to drink as much as he wants. But then, a glowing orb appears in front of him. Once the orb settles to the ground, it loses its glow, revealing the clump of seeds inside. Minato wonders where the seeds came from, so Yamagami explains that they're a gift from Reiki. Then, as Minato gets ready to plant the seeds, Yamagami warns him that they'll grow into a very large plant. To prevent his garden from being destroyed, Minato asks Yamagami for a suitable spot before planting the seeds inside. As he plants the seeds, Minato wonders which plant they'll actually grow into, but Yamagami keeps it a surprise. A few days later, Minato walks out to the garden carrying some cookies for Yamagami and his familiars. Suddenly, two little spirits peek out from the roof, scaring the lights out of the poor man. Then, Yamagami greets them with the names Fujin and Reijin. So Minato realizes they're the famed spirits of wind and lightning from Japanese mythology. Although the two spirits were described as quite fearsome in the stories, they look quite cute in real life. After learning the spirits' real identity, Minato offers them some cookies, which they happily take. Then, both of them start making fun of Yamagami for nearly dying, but the old fox proudly tells them he'd never die so easily. Meanwhile, Yamagami's familiars get angry that the spirits stole their cookies. Before getting curious about their visit, the twin gods explain that they were simply curious about Minato's famous garden, so they came over to take a look. Then, they notice Reiki drinking from its bowl, so Minato offers to let them drink as well. Once the two of them are done drinking, Fujin gives Minato his power of wind as a gift. Shocked, Minato wonders how to use the power, so Yamagami tells him to imagine himself using the wind. With these instructions, Minato holds out his hands and concentrates hard. Soon, a gentle breeze starts blowing in the same direction. Although Minato is pleased to use his new vacuum cleaner's power, Yamagami explains that he can train it to become even more powerful. Elsewhere, in a dark facility, Haruma fights against more evil spirits. As he destroys one more, he notices that the pentagram from Minato has slowly faded away, while Haruma feels pity that his overpowered pentagram is about to disappear. Two of his teammates scream in panic nearby. He turns around, finding a man called Akijo cornered by a huge evil spirit. Although Akijo's partner, Horikawa, is standing nearby, she feels powerless to do anything against the dangerous spirit. Akijo screams at her to help him, but it's too late as the spirit lunges to attack. Suddenly, Haruma arrives in the nick of time and destroys the spirit with a shopping list. As Haruma checks on Horikawa, Akijo gets annoyed as he notices the shopping list in Haruma's hands. Afterward, he confronts Horikawa and asks her if she knows the source of Haruma's overpowered shopping lists. Horikawa admits that she doesn't know, so Akijo gets angry at her. Confused, she wonders why he's so upset. Then, she asks why he hates Haruma so much, which pisses off even more. Still, Horikawa struggles free and leaves.
Everything starts in the ruins of a destroyed city, where a mysterious woman discovers a young boy named Lloyd, standing motionless, fixated on something unseen. Although it remains unclear exactly what he's staring at, the woman instinctively knows one thing for certain. If this child joins her cause, she can finally defeat the demon lord and claim victory. Setting aside her doubts, she gently embraces Lloyd, who remains completely lost in thought. Soon after, the woman brings Lloyd back to her home and immediately demonstrates her magic by conjuring fire directly from her hands. Lloyd's eyes widen in disbelief because this is something completely unimaginable for him. Despite that, the woman orders him to mimic her feat, threatening that if he can't manage it, he'll have to skip dinner. Without any guidance, knowledge, or experience, Lloyd pushes himself to try, and by nightfall, he miraculously manages to summon a small flame. Although slightly impressed, the woman insists it's nowhere near good enough, and to prove her point, she engulfs him in flames, insisting he still has a very long road ahead. The following morning, she decides to teach Lloyd water magic by showing him how to strike the ground in a specific manner. Lloyd manages it on his first try, but only succeeds in soaking the dirt beneath him, failing to meet her expectations again. Disappointed, she punishes him by drenching him completely in a pool of water. Later, she introduces him to wind magic, and as their rigorous training continues, Lloyd masters ice magic within just a few short months. Eager to impress his strict master, he proudly creates a perfect ice sculpture resembling her, certain he's finally done enough to earn her approval. But again, she remains unimpressed. Believing Lloyd still doesn't grasp the vast difference in their power, she decides to give him a demonstration. Using her own magic, she animates the statue he created, causing it to grab Lloyd tightly, and then dramatically enlarges it before shattering it to pieces right in front of him. Witnessing firsthand his master's immense power, Lloyd's determination only intensifies, motivating him to continue training relentlessly. Then one evening, she overdoses on the booze and wakes up sick as a dog. Lloyd surprises her by healing her instantly, revealing that he has also learned healing magic through her instruction. Grateful, she warmly hugs him for helping her, yet quickly regains her stern composure, reminding him that he's still nowhere near her level. And without missing a beat, she commands him to immediately return to his master. Magical training. After several more months of intense training, Lloyd's master is seen anxiously holding a mysterious grimoire. Something clearly troubles her, and when Lloyd suddenly enters the room, she's so startled that the book slips from her grasp. Lloyd quickly picks it up for her, but as soon as he touches the grimoire, something triggers deep inside him, causing him to collapse unconscious. Seeing this, his master immediately realizes Lloyd could actually become a chosen one himself. From the way she talks, it almost sounds as though she might be one too, although I can't be completely sure. Either way, she's deeply concerned that Lloyd might repeat her own mistakes. Wanting to protect him from becoming overly confident and reckless like she did, she gently kisses his forehead while he's asleep, casting a subtle spell, probably one meant to limit his power. The following morning, she introduces Lloyd to a new concept called a white mage. According to his master, Lloyd is naturally suited to becoming a white mage, the kind of magician who typically uses magic to help and benefit others. To put this into practice, she assigns him the simple task of using his healing abilities on an apple tree, making one apple larger. Lloyd succeeds, but his master quickly demonstrates how she can effortlessly cover the entire tree in apples, reminding him how far he still has to go. Later that night, during his regular magic lessons, Lloyd becomes intrigued when he stumbles across a phrase called ancient magic. But his master quickly dismisses his curiosity, insisting he shouldn't concern himself with magic that disappeared centuries ago. Instead, she begins teaching him more advanced spells, including space magic, which allows him to freely summon or unsummon objects whenever he pleases. Eventually, believing Lloyd is ready to face even tougher challenges, his master blindfolds him and takes him into an unfamiliar forest filled with monsters. She hands him nothing more than a tiny kitchen knife, instructs him to survive using only his magic, and gives him a single week to return home. After wishing him luck, she immediately vanishes into thin air, leaving Lloyd utterly terrified and alone. Only moments later, a wolf-like monster emerges from the darkness, chasing Lloyd frantically through the woods. He barely manages to evade it by scrambling up a tall tree, panicking as he tries to figure out what to do next. After calming himself slightly, he uses his space detection skill and pinpoints the location of his master's house, far to the north. With no other options, he climbs down and cautiously sets out on foot toward home. When night falls, Lloyd cleverly uses his healing magic to ripen wild fruits for dinner. Finding a small cave to shelter in, he begins carefully drawing out a magic circle that should help increase his physical abilities. Putting his creativity to good use, he adjusts all of his known spells to actively boost his physical strength and other base stats whenever he activates them. The following morning, as Lloyd carefully makes his way through the forest, he accidentally stumbles into a queen spider's territory. As soon as the massive spider lunges at him, Lloyd spins around and runs as fast as he can. He quickly activates one of his newly modified spells, increasing his speed tenfold. In one desperate burst, he manages to sprint all the way back to his master's home, collapsing from exhaustion at her doorstep. She casually opens the door, greeting him warmly with a gentle smile and welcoming him back. As more time passes, Lloyd grows taller and more confident, gaining greater freedom around his master's home. One day, while tidying up her study, Lloyd finds a book about cities, instantly capturing his interest since he's never experienced life among other people. Meanwhile, his master begins conducting various experiments, making Lloyd her personal apprentice and barely allowing him a moment of rest for several.
Australian made means made right here in Australia. But it's more than just where it's made. It means made by Australians, backing local businesses and jobs. Made for the way we live, right here. It's why buying Australian made just feels right. Australian made, made right here.
Subway value snack range from $2.70. Sub yeah. Nailed it.
What makes you do it?
The entire world's IQ has plummeted, but mine stayed exactly the same. Ordinary people now struggle for ages. just to solve basic addition and subtraction under 10. Meanwhile, I can calculate 2 times 3 in my sleep. Later, I casually mentioned the law of universal gravitation and shocked the world. I became the youngest Nobel Prize winner in history. Facing a tidal wave of interviews, I was completely dazed. I told them, I don't know, my advisor said I'd get extra credit, so I showed up. My name is Chun Shi, and I've unexpectedly transmigrated into a parallel world. Now, I'm just a struggling high school student in the middle of the college entrance exams. I took a moment to process the flood of new memories in my head. I looked down at the math exam in front of me and fell into a deep silence. The first question asked, what is 2 times 3 plus 4? The options were 2, 10, 14, and 20. I thought I was dreaming, so I scanned the rest of the paper. It was all basic multiplication and division. I checked again to make sure I wasn't hallucinating, feeling utterly lost. Is this really the national exam? Why is it all elementary school level? The proctor at the front of the room glared at me and barked, "You there! Stop looking around and focus on your own paper," he barked, so I hesitantly raised my hand. When the proctor reached my desk, I held up the exam for him to see. I asked him in a small, uncertain voice, "Excuse me, teacher, did I get the wrong test?" He inspected my paper and compared it to the master copy several times. He frowned and said firmly, "The paper is correct. Just focus on the exam," then gave me a warning look and walked away. I had no choice. I bit the bullet and started answering the questions. In less than 30 minutes, I had finished the entire thing. Around me, students were scratching their heads in agony, scribbling endless calculations on scratch paper. I finally suffered through the wait until the bell rang. As I walked out of the hall, a few students from my school crowded around. They were all frantically complaining about how impossible the test was. This year's math was brutal. I'll be lucky if I even pass, let alone get a 60. Listening to my classmates' desperate debate, I became even more confused. Was it really that hard? I couldn't imagine anyone not getting a perfect score. Hey, what did you guys get for the first question? The 2 times 3 plus 4 one. I calculated 14, one of them said confidently. That can't be right, another argued. Why did I get 20? I stood there on the sidelines, completely stunned by what I was hearing. I really didn't get the wrong test, did I? How could anyone mess up that question and get 14 or 20? How did they even calculate that? I couldn't help but speak up. Shouldn't it be 10? Order of operations. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10. One of the guys shot me a dismissive look. Give it a rest, Chin-che. Stop talking nonsense. Everyone knows you're dead last in math for the entire grade. There's no way you can do multiplication in your head. Another classmate, looking skeptical, pulled out his phone. He actually opened the calculator app to check the math. Sure enough, the answer to that question was exactly 10. My mental calculation was perfectly correct. The guy who just insulted me turned bright red and stammered. No way, he must have just guessed. The other students gathered around, staring at me with deep suspicion. Their eyes were filled with a mix of shock and confusion. After a brief, awkward silence, they shifted their focus to debating the final big problem on the exam. That specific question was notoriously difficult. It was impossible. I couldn't even understand the prompt. I'm telling you, it's beyond the syllabus. Maybe 5 people in the whole province solved it. I remembered that question clearly. The problem was simple. Chickens and rabbits are in the same cage. From the top, you see 35 heads. From the bottom, 94 feet. How many of each are there? It was a basic chickens and rabbits logic puzzle. That same guy couldn't hold back anymore. Don't tell me, he sneered. You're going to claim you solved this one too? Give it a rest. You actually think you're some math genius now. I organized my thoughts for a second and spoke up. Let X be the chickens, so the rabbits are 35 minus X. Since a chicken has 2 feet, and a rabbit has 4. With 35 animals and 94 feet, you just set up the equation. 2x plus 4 times 35 minus X equals 94. Solve for X, and you get 23. So there are 23 chickens, and for the rabbits, it's 35 minus 23, which leaves 12. The other students just stared at me, their faces blank. It was like I was speaking a foreign language to them. The guy finally snapped out of his daze and let out a cold laugh. Chin-che, you're really addicted to playing pretend, aren't you? Tossing out random numbers doesn't make you a top student. It's fine to lie to us, but don't start believing your own bullshit. Right then, another student held up his phone toward him. Xiaozhang muttered that my answer actually seemed to be right. The guy grabbed the phone, took one look, and froze before staring back at me. Unbelievable, he gasped. You actually mastered linear equations? I spread my hands, looking indifferent. Is that supposed to be hard? His mouth hung open, completely speechless for the first time. Later that afternoon, during the Chinese language exam, I stared at the final essay prompt and fell into a long, deep silence once again. I was starting to realize that the IQ of humans in this parallel world was concerningly low. After the exam ended, I headed home. On the way, I overheard students arguing if the next line of a famous poem was about flying to the heavens or just waking up. When I walked through the door, I saw my dad lying on the sofa, scrolling through videos. He was glued to the screen, nodding with a look of immense pride on his face. The phone was playing a news report. Scientists have recently discovered a shocking fact. There are 8 billion people on Earth, and the average lifespan is 70 years. That means one human dies every 70 years. By multiplying 70 by 80, we can conclude that humanity will survive for at least 5,600 years. Was this guy actually a genius? I felt like I had encountered a natural-born talent that I couldn't defeat no matter how hard I tried. As I walked further into the room, my dad sat up from the sofa. He patted me on the shoulder with a heavy hand. Your aunt's electronics factory is hiring, room and board included, $3,500 a month. Get ready, you're reporting for duty tomorrow. In my father's memory, I wasn't exactly a genius either. During the last mock exam before the finals, the original me actually calculated 3 plus 5 is 7. I had misspelled basic words and thought there were 28 letters in the English alphabet. With that kind of IQ, college was a pipe dream, but the new me was a transmigrator. Handling this world's entrance exams would be child's play. I hesitated for a moment, then finally spoke up. Dad, I actually think I can get into a university. He shot me a look of pure bewilderment. It was the kind of look you'd give a stray dog trying to do long division. I don't want to bring you down, son, but look at your grades. You'll be lucky to even get a high school diploma. So why are you dreaming about college? I didn't even know where to start explaining it to him. I just told him there was no rush to join the factory yet. We should at least wait until the exam results come out. Seeing how stubborn I was being, he didn't push the issue any further. He just let out a helpless sigh and lay back down to scroll through his phone. The video blared. According to the latest observational study, it is highly likely that human beings are actually immortal. The video continued, because out of all humans currently alive, not a single one has ever died. My dad nodded along, looking deep in thought. I just stood there thinking, wait, does that even make sense? The day before the college entrance exam results were released, Mr. Wong from the Tsinghua University admissions office showed up at our door, carrying bags of gifts and wearing a massive, beaming smile. The moment he stepped inside, he grabbed my father's hand in a firm grip. You must be Lin Tianqing's father. On behalf of the university, I want to thank you for raising such an outstanding